Welcome to the Group Dentistry Now show, the voice of the DSO industry. Kim Larson and Bill Newman talk to industry leaders about their challenges, successes, and the future of group dentistry. Visit groupdentistrynow.com for more DSO analysis, news, and events. Looking for a job or have a job to fill? Visit joindso.com. We hope you enjoy today's show.
Welcome, everyone, to the Group Dentistry Now show. I'm Bill Newman, and as always, we appreciate you watching us, whether you happen to be watching us on our website, groupdentistrynow.com, or maybe our YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. We're going to focus in today on an organization that has been supporting dental group practices since 1974. So I think a lot of the audience may not realize that this is the first association for dental group practices way before others existed. And yeah, I think as the industry is consolidated, as the group practice DSO models have become more prevalent, there may have been some other organizations and other meetings out there that have become more popular as of late. So really want to focus on the AADGP, the American Academy of Dental Group Practice today, their origins, what they're doing, their place in the market. And they've made some, I think, pretty important changes recently to address the changes in the market and to really support doctor-owned, doctor-led dental group practices. And so it's just a really important conversation. Group Dentistry Now has been attending the AADGP meetings for quite a while and been involved with the organization. It's a lot of fun to see, what they've been doing. And I think these changes are going to be really important to dentists. Number one, the dentists that are running these group practices, so the members or potential members. And then also, I think the benefits to the vendors that are going to be supporting the meeting in 2025 and the differences there. So I just wanted to kind of start things off by letting everybody know, this is a different AADGP than I think people that have known the organization or attended the meetings have known in the past, and really excited to introduce this new AADGP for 2025. So we have Dr. Virginia Jones with us. She is on the board of directors of the AADGP and also the chief executive officer of Village Family Dental. So Dr. Jones, great to have you here.
Oh, thanks, Bill. I appreciate you including us and featuring AADGP for Group Dentistry Now. So thank you.
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun conversation. I've been looking forward to this. And we have Dr. Brent Barta. He is immediate past president of AADGP, and also he is the CEO and the chief dental officer at West 10th Dental Group. So Dr. Barta, great to have you here as well.
Thanks very much. Good to talk to you, Bill.
So we'll let you both do some intros, a little bit about your backgrounds and your roles at AADGP, and then we can get into some of the Q&A. So Dr. Jones, why don't you start things off?
We're a multi-specialty, multi-location group practice in North Carolina. We have 13 locations and every specialty covered, from general dentistry, endo, pedo, the likes. I've been in this position for 13 years, and I have been a member of AADGP that entire time. And then 2 years ago, I was selected to be on the board as an at-large member. I am not a dentist. I'm a business person, but I always get a lot from the meetings and the membership. So,
thank you, Dr. Jones. Dr. Barta?
Yeah, I'm a founder of a 18-doctor multi-specialty group in Indianapolis. I was just checking, last night, and I went to my first AADGP meeting in 2005. So I'm coming up on my 20-year anniversary with the organization, and then became involved in the board about 7 years ago. And as Bill mentioned, I'm the immediate past president. So personally, a long history with AADGP, and can say it's been certainly foundational in my ability to grow a group practice.
I think the roots of some of the organizations that are out there now and a lot of the meetings that have blossomed, we were talking about this before we started to record this podcast. There's a lot going on as far as meeting opportunities and educational opportunities in the DSO group practice space. And I think there's almost too much, and it becomes difficult to, choose, we all have day jobs, so we can't just go to every single meeting out there. So I think it becomes really important, which meetings and which organizations provide value. I'm really going to talk about how AADGP is addressing, that larger issue in the space, and, who your audience, like who would be a good fit to become a member or a good fit for somebody to attend your meeting. Maybe start off with like a little bit about the background of the AADGP. We talked about the hit 1971, long time ago. What is the AADGP? I'll start real high level.
Sure, I can take that. It is a true academy, first of all. That's in our name, and that is indeed the structure of the organization, and it's a not-for-profit organization. And I'll highlight the fact that does separate us from a lot of the other groups and meetings that are out there, which are more financially focused. They have an agenda outside of just taking care of the folks attending the meeting. We are here for our membership. It's an academy, and if you join, we're here for you as an individual. So that is a significant distinction between what we do and some of the other meetings do. Great meetings out there, but we are an academy, and we want to hear what our members need and hopefully provide the content that they need.
So when you say academy, that's more from an educational perspective. That's what...
Indeed. So we're here to provide, again, the resources and really the learning that people need who are in a group practice or who aspire to be in a group practice.
And that's going to lead us into a later conversation in the podcast about some of the big changes at the 2025 AADGP event that's happening in Orlando. So there's, you've really kind of changed things up, offering a lot more educational content, different options there. But I'm not going to steal your thunder. So I'm going to let you tell everybody those great changes there. How did the Academy start?
Well, neither Virginia nor I were there in 1974. But from what we understand and hear, it was really informal, and it was started by those fellows who were pioneers in group practice. I mean, the idea of a DSO wasn't even a thought in anybody's mind in 1974, but there were people who were building businesses within dentistry and who needed some help building those businesses. And they found that if they came together, networked, had this meeting, that they could all learn from each other and grow accordingly. So it was really the folks that were pioneers in group practice that initially informally got together and decided, let's have some meetings.
Yeah, I think if you think about like our founder, our practice was founded in 1985, and by 1989, it had become the first multi-specialty, multi-location practice in North Carolina. And so our founders, Dr. Knowles, Dr. Smith, they had no one that they could really interact with in North Carolina that were doing the things they were doing. And so this group was a group that they found that they could meet and just talk to like-minded people that may have experienced some of the same issues they had. And that's really the benefit they were getting, back in the, late 80s, early 90s.
A lot of networking was the premise. Yeah.
Well, I think that those are really two great points. I mean, you talked about, back in the 80s or the founding of the AADGP in the 70s, where there really there weren't resources out there. If you had a group practice or you were, scaling up, which probably wasn't even a term that was used then, it was, there were no resources. So, now we're in, going into 2025, and there are probably more resources than you could ever ask for. And so now part of I think the challenge is, who do I go to? How do I cut through the clutter? You still want to network. You want to talk with like-minded groups that are, maybe in a similar stage of scaling up or growth, or maybe somebody that is ahead 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years, and you can use them as a mentor or a resource. And I think that's where, becoming a member of the AADGP, attending the events, you really get that benefit that you wouldn't get in other academies, other associations, other events.
Yeah, I think Bill, one of the things that I see, I do the conference circuit. I've been to a lot of the bigger conferences most years. I think the biggest benefit that I see, some of the conferences have a tendency to either be vendor driven or they're target driven, like where you're going to end up. I think a big part of what the AADGP teaches you is the journey. If you're thinking you want to grow and scale, and when do you make each level of decision as you're looking at your strategic plan. I think that's just a critical piece, and to be able to interact with others in a non-competitive environment is critical to what AADGP offers.
So this leads to the question, who should really become involved with the AADGP, and I think you touched on it. And why did you personally become involved, or why did your organization become involved?
Well, I think, again, focusing on the fact that we are somewhat skewed towards the doctor-owned organizations, which also would indicate oftentimes that we're looking to support the younger doctors and the newer organizations. That's where I was. Like, I was a very small one office, group practice with a couple dentists. And aside from the day-to-day needs that I knew I had, I didn't have any resources to go to that next level, as Virginia is saying. So a way of sort of logically making those decisions, it was the AADGP that helped me through all those various plateaus. So I think that's our target. It's somebody who wants to go somewhere and just does not know how to do it, and can do so now in a very non-competitive, welcoming environment.
So again, Dr. Barta, so why don't we stick with you a little bit? 20 years ago, you were close to it, right? You joined the AADGP. So can you talk a little bit about where you were and your organization was then, and now? Where are you, and kind of that journey, and how the academies really help?
Absolutely. I was at that point, as I said, still one location, probably had 3 doctors in the practice at that point. And I have been and always will be clinically focused in providing the ultimate care for the patients, as we all are. But growing the business in a sound way it wasn't something that I had any idea what to do next. And so attending the AADGP, seeing people who were already doing the things that I hope to do, and then getting actual education truly was the way that allowed me to grow to where we are today, which is an 18-doctor organization, multi-specialty, multi-location in Indianapolis. So, yeah, you get to the point, and there are certain plateaus where it's hard to know what to do next. And I think we're a perfect organization to help those folks.
And Dr. Jones, from your perspective as the CEO of an organization, not a dentist, talk about the benefits to your organization and to you personally. Why did you become involved? And maybe talk a little bit about your journey from 13 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had been, even before that, I'd been about 25 years in C-suite positions in a couple of different industries. And really my managing partner was heavily involved with the organization. And to start out with just me coming into the industry, it was a place where I could learn about dentistry, about the group concept, multi-location. What were the challenges? What questions were people asking about the industry in this format? Of course, my exposure had only been to that single doc practice, obviously, when I came in. So that was huge for me, and be able to meet others that had either tackled it or were still trying to tackle certain things that we were challenged with. I think one of the big things early on when I first started my career here was looking for software, for patient management software that could do multi-location, multi-site. And at the time, we had probably 22 dentists. Now we have 57. And, you know, that was huge, because this was a great place to be able to talk to others, not just have a vendor show you a product, but that also talk to others that were using it or using other products, and the good, bad, and the ugly. And so that was probably the key takeaway for me. And I think even up to like this, like past meeting this year, we're exploring ways as a doctor-owned, doctor-driven practice, ways that we can look at unique ownership models to be able to get more and more dental owners into the business. And so we're still learning, obviously, when we go, and then we also share the things that we've overcome with others. So that's what we like about it.
Before we move on to the changes in 2025 for your meeting, I think it's important to talk a little bit about the value behind becoming a member of the AADGP. Again, something we were talking about offline before we started to record was just how inexpensive it is to actually be part of the academies. Maybe we talk a little bit about that, because it's there's a ton of value, and back to maybe what you were saying, Dr. Barta, about really great opportunity for young clinicians to become part of something, and it's not going to break the bank, so to speak.
Absolutely that. We really think that the market, if you will, for our organization is vast today. Everybody recognizes that group practice and the DSO is seemingly becoming the practice model of the future. But it's the young doctor who recognizes that, who aspires to grow a group of whatever size, that we see as where the need exists today. And for that reason, we've kept our entry price very low. Our first tier, we have tiered organizational pricing, but our first tier for 1 to 9 practice locations is just $250. So I challenge any other meeting or group to match that today. It's actually a phenomenal value for attending a meeting of this quality.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure we highlight that, because I think a lot of people would just assume that it would be quite a bit more.
It's very easy to attend. And again, the young doctor shouldn't be scared away by what we are suggesting as an entry point. Not at all.
Absolutely. So let's shift gears. Let's talk about 2025 and some of the big changes. Probably the most obvious changes: it's not in Las Vegas anymore. The event has moved to Orlando. Great place to be in February for sure. So it's February 6th through the 8th in Orlando at the Omni Champions Gate. Great golf courses there. I think I remember that from previous times attending there. But maybe talk a little bit about some of the basics of the meeting, and just maybe the why. Like why did you make the shift? And also, beyond just the location, there's some pretty dramatic changes to just what the agenda looks like.
Sure. So, historically, it's been more of a traditional conference, like what you see with, the other conferences you attend. But because of just our value in academy, a value in learning, we are making a shift to workshop-driven learning for 2025. And this is huge, because instead of getting just a cursory, high-level educational speaker, you're actually going to be able to take real pearls from each workshop you attend, back to your practice. And our goal is that it's something you can implement as soon as you return for all of our workshops. So this is a big difference and a big shift than what we've done in the past. I think that a lot of it is because we want to continue to maintain relevancy. I think this is a delivery model that's just not being used, but it's the biggest bang for your buck that you can get and have an impact immediately within your business.
Dr. Barta, anything you want to add?
Well, I'll add, we also view this meeting as a foundation for additional learning that we will be offering throughout the years to come. So as Virginia says, these are workshop structured programs, but they also will springboard into additional learning opportunities that we'll have available in 2025 and beyond. So we're looking at this holistically now as a structured learning organization going forward.
I think that's really important. I think you're going to discuss that more at the actual meeting in 2025. What that structured learning is going to look like.
Okay.
What about the opportunities for not just the C-suite at these groups or the doctors that are the doctor owners? What about the team members? Is there education and content for team members as well?
Absolutely. So there's marketing content, there's HR recruiting content, there's your CFOs or controllers, because there's financial content about talking about credit markets. So it's really an opportunity, and not just your administrative people, but also your associates. Whether an associate is they've just been with you, or there's someone you're looking at as being one of your partners and that's actually going to be growing your practice with you. It's key components that associate needs to understand and learn about growing the business model. So it really is for everyone to attend.
And I'll just say it's a great opportunity if you do have somebody you're evaluating to join the practice as an owner. I've done this. It gives them a taste of what the business of dentistry looks like, and it gives you an opportunity to see them operating in this kind of an environment. And I would throw that out there to anybody who's got young doctors that may eventually become part of the practice or part of the management team. Bring them to our event. You'll see them and they'll see you in a different light.
Yeah, Dr. Barta, I think that's such a great point. I mean, every year as we've brought different associates with us, they always make comments after it's like that. I had no idea everything that goes into it. Or they've also made great relationships with other dental associates from across the country, where maybe they just were in a roundtable discussion and they were talking about issues in human resources, issues in recruiting dental assistants. I mean, all of these things that, managing time with hygiene checks. I mean, just the simplest of things. But they've all really gotten benefit from it.
Yeah.
I think you both really kind of touched on some of the highlights from past years, but anything else you'd want to kind of highlight about? I mean, I think the networking is such a huge factor in any of these meetings. So there's plenty of time for, attendees to network amongst each other and, maybe, not just learn from, some of the workshops, but, to learn from each other, which is really great. Any other highlights from past years?
Well, I think, you're exactly right. I've been astounded and was astounded when I first attended that the quality of people that are present to network with and how open they are, and that you find yourself sitting down to lunch and talking to somebody with a phenomenal resume, somebody who's done the things that you aspire to do, and to be able to just sit and chat with somebody in that kind of an environment is it's unheard of in most conferences.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to mention that I really was impressed with, And I kind of come at things from a different perspective than you because I was a vendor for umpteen years. So, the vendors that may be listening, and again, we go back to there are a lot of choices for vendors to attend meetings, to have, tables and booths. The one thing that I really noticed at the 2024 event was that the attendees were really engaged with the vendors. And so what I mean by that is engaged, coming up to the tables, talking to the different vendors. So I think what AADGP has done really well, specifically in 2024, was to communicate to the attendees that the vendors are there to support them and that they need to spend time with the vendors. And I think some of that had to do, I think there were some master's tickets that you could get, if you went and visited each table, there was definitely a reason to do it. But I was talking to a couple of vendors after the event to take their pulse and to find out what they thought of the event. And I had one in particular I saw who's actually going to be, at the 2025 event doing a workshop. And they said that they were really impressed with the engagement level of the attendees. And I think it's so critical because you do see it at certain meetings where the vendors are there and they're supporting the event and the attendees just don't connect with them. So really impressed with that. And when any vendors out there listening that, if you're on the fence, these attendees are super engaged with the vendors.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Bill, because obviously our vendors are important. With us being a nonprofit, they help support the organization financially. We're able to keep our costs down. But I think there's twofold. First, I think we block a good amount of appropriate time for people to engage, as you're mentioning. I think too that the way that we have conversation amongst attendees and it being a collaborative environment also lends itself to supporting the vendors, because as I mentioned in the one example about patient management software, for example, those conversations lead someone to go talk to that specific software vendor, for example. So it does create a situation where everyone is collaborating, everyone's getting good quality time. And I think the vendors have enjoyed it, particularly the way we did it last year, where we allowed more time available to the vendors. So,
and this year will be even at a higher level, I believe. They'll see. So 2024, 2025 will be even better for the vendors.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the programming, the workshops, some of the workshops that you're offering. And I was putting the agenda came out as of this recording. It was about a week ago that the agenda came out. So I was going through the agenda, adding it to our website as well. And people can find that information on the American Academy of Dental Group Practices website, or you can find it at groupdentistrynow.com. But you've got a lot going on, a lot of different workshops to choose from. So do you want to run through some of the different options out there? I don't know if you can go through them all, but there are quite a few.
Dr. Barta, you want to take that first? Or
Yeah, sure. I'm going to refer to the fact that everything that we're doing this year is foundational for the Academy's ongoing program. And so we have workshops kind of associated with what we call the 6 pillars or the 6 standards of practice. So we're talking about the provider standards, clinical standards, leadership standards, business standards, operating systems, and practice financial health. And so these workshops, which are too many to list really in this podcast, are kind of all fall into those different buckets. And so think about what I just mentioned, and it covers pretty much the entire spectrum of building, running, growing a dental group. So financial, we've got several programs on structuring your financials, working with an accountant, developing that piece of your platform in a logical manner. We've got several on obtaining financing to grow your group. So several speakers from banking industry and also from advisory companies. Golly, more than I can mention in this podcast. But again, they all fall into these 6 different pillars, if you will, of building and sustaining a group practice.
Yeah, and I would add, we do have some courses around human resources, how to, recruiting, how to keep your talent engaged in your business, to profitable hygiene, the best hygiene models out there, assisted hygiene. There's a workshop on how to implement it. So there are some interesting workshops around the current challenges that all of us are facing, particularly in the HR area.
So as we start to wrap up the podcast here, are there any, and you may have mentioned them just now, Dr. Jones and Dr. Barta, but what pieces to this event, what sessions, what should everybody be really looking forward to? Is there anything maybe besides the workshops, and I think besides just and you're right, the options, if we went through all these, would be another hour. Is there anything that you're looking forward to? Do you see a session on there that you're like, hey, I want to, this is one I am definitely going to sit in on. So maybe Dr. Jones, I'll let you go first. Is there one that you're like, I've got to go to this one?
Well, I can't pick just one. I mean, I went through this and I was like, I don't know how that, we're going to be able to do all that I want to do. But I think one of the cool things that we haven't mentioned is we're doing an innovation station. So before, you're not going to just go to like a conference and have a vendor talk about their software or talk about AI or whatever. You're literally going to be able to go and interact with their software, interact with their AI in a demo style format. And I'm really excited to see that. I'm kind of a, don't tell me the sermon, show me the sermon. So I'm excited about that part of it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we didn't mention that. That's wonderful.
The other thing, and this harkens back to when I first became a member, is we're bringing back the roundtable format and the ability then to sit in these really small groups and discuss a topic with your peers, with an expert sitting in as a moderator. It's phenomenal. The conversations that I've heard sitting in roundtables at AADGP meetings in the past have just been really changed my practice many, many years.
Well, I mean, I think this is going to be a real game changer for the industry. Docs, again, looking for this educational component that I think to a large degree has been really missing in the group practice space. Format's great. It's up on our website. You can see the entire agenda. You can go to aadgp.org and see the agenda there. If you want to save 10%, who wouldn't want to save 10%? You can use the code GD now. So Group Dentistry Now, GD Now, to save 10% off. And I'd also just say, since it is Orlando in February, it's a pretty popular place to go in February. I would look at booking earlier rather than later to make sure you get your hotel, your flight, and of course, you get registered, whether you're going to be an attendee or an exhibitor. So, final thoughts before we go, but I'm super excited about this. You probably can tell, but I love the new format. I'm going through trying to figure out which sessions I can attend and which ones I'm going to have to forego because they're competing against each other. So you kind of have to go, do I flip a coin here or what do I do? Because they all look so good. But more content than you can consume in a couple of days. Oh, and the other thing is on the 8th, the final day, there is optional golf as well, right?
That's right. That's right. And there is kind of a golf style event on Thursday night as well. So it's like drive shacks.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, so it's a great golf course. So if you are, if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to go there and play golf, well, you actually can play golf and also network at the same time. But it's great.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both for being on the show. I mean, I really do think that this is 2025 is going to be a great year for the industry as a whole. And again, I see a lot of opportunity for young docs that are looking to create their own group practices. I think we've seen this shift in the past couple of years as interest rates have climbed, and maybe docs that were either looking to maybe sell to a strategic, a larger group practice have said, you know what, I'm going to do this on my own. Maybe the opportunity is to just kind of build something, whether it's a legacy or something to, for myself to continue for a while. Seems like the industry has kind of shifted away from these large DSOs. I mean, they're still growing, but you also see a lot of younger clinicians that are really focused on just building a better business.
Yeah, definitely the case in our region. And they can do it themselves too. That's maybe our biggest message. They can do it.
Yeah, that's what they learn, is that you can actually do it yourself.
Yeah, exciting times for the industry. So again, you can go to the AADGP.org website, and we'll drop the URL in there, and then use our discount code. Any other final thoughts there? If they need to get in touch with anybody, I think the email address is aadgp@aadgp.org if you want to find out more about the event.
Absolutely. Members too. We're always happy to talk to people interested in the organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Dr. Jones, Dr. Barta, thank you both for being here. And thank you, everybody, for listening in, learning a little bit more about the organization and also the upcoming event in Orlando in February 6th through the 8th next year. Until next time. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jones. Thank you, Dr. Barta. Till next time, this is the Group Dentistry Now show, and I am Bill Newman.
The Group Dentistry Now show has listeners across North and South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. If you like our show, subscribe today, and please tell your colleagues about us.